these policies and processes across various business groups within the bank. Before ICICI, he has worked with Coca-Cola India, Ford India, ICICI India Limited, etc. His work experience spans more than 17 years. He is a graduate in Industrial Engineering and a Master's in Personal Management and IR from Calcutta. Has led various initiatives in areas like leadership development, performance management, organizational restructuring, competence-based recruitment, mergers and acquisitions, and employee relations. Welcome to the panel discussion, Mr. Sridhar. Ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be an extremely interesting evening with this power-packed panel. I'll now hand over the session to Mr. Ajay Soni. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. It's a pleasure to be with this panel here. The panel has more than 100 years of experience cumulatively in managing HR, developing leaders in some of the biggest and the oldest groups and companies in this country. So we are really blessed to be having this panel here, and I'm sure there will be some very interesting discussions. My objective is to have a few questions for about 45 minutes from my side, and then open it up. I'm sure a lot of questions will be there in your minds, and last 15 minutes we'll open it up for all of you. And to start with, I'd like to pose a question to all four of you, which is that what is the way of succession planning? We've heard so much about succession planning. Are there a few models that different companies adopt? So, what we've seen is two kind of models of doing succession planning. One is a pool-based model where we create a high potential pool, and then from that pool people can go and do different jobs. Or critical positions identified and then successors identified to that. Or is there a mix of that? So I'd like to just open it up. Mr. Agarwal, you can go to start with.
Friends, I am one of those fortunate people who have worked both sides of the table. I have worked in public sector organization, large public sector, a senior position, and now I am looking after the diversified group. One of my senior colleagues, Mr. K.K. Sinha, he also has got such kind of experience. When I was listening to Mr. Soni, and he was giving us the figures that this is the understanding of CEOs, this is the understanding of managers, succession planning and career planning is very good. There is a lot of difference between what knowledge we have got, what actions we do, and how do we behave. So this is my personal experience. There is a lot of hypocrisy in there. Now coming to practices in public sector and private sector, there are basic differences in the structure. And I will mention 5 basic differences of public sector and private sector. Number 1, in public sector, the retirement age is fixed 60 years. The person will have to retire at the end of the month in which he completes 60 years. So it is well known that we will have to have a person on the board. As compared to that, in private sector, it is comparatively flexible. So it can be 60, it can be 65. The person for whom we are trying to do the succession planning, if it doesn't want, then it can further go on. So it is flexible comparatively. This is number 1. Number 2, the compensation structure, particularly from middle management to senior management. Succession planning, when we talk, it is for the senior positions generally. So at that level, the compensation package in public sectors, it is much less, and it is not possible, I will not say difficult, it is almost not possible to have the people from outside for that purpose, and therefore it is compulsory for the public sectors to develop their own people for the up to the topmost position. This is number 2. Number 3 is the engagement level in public sectors is very high, even if at senior level the compensation structure is low. And if not all, some of the people, they know their market value but generally they continue in the public sector up to their retirement age. And therefore the engagement level is very high. There are various things why the engagement level is high. I will not get into that. And because public sectors will have to find their own people to occupy the senior position, their training and development systems are very strong because they don't have any option but to develop their own people. So these are the basic differences which I have observed while working in the public sector and the private sector. Now there are various practices in the private sector and public sector. And as far as the succession planning and career planning is concerned, some of the organizations, they have very good systems of career planning, as Mr. Soni has mentioned. By career planning, we prepare the feeder cadre for succession planning. And whereas other organizations, I will say, most of the organizations nowadays people say that long-term award, if somebody continues in the organization for 5 years, then he deserves for the long-term award. This was not the case, I think 10 years, 15 years, or 20 years back. So on one hand, we are talking about career planning, succession planning. The CEOs, they are very much convinced that career planning and succession planning is a very good thing. On the other hand, it is very difficult to find the people who are completing 5 years in the organization. So many of, whether you take the software industry or so many industry I have seen. Therefore, a lot has to be done between what knowledge we have got, that knowledge is to be converted into action and our behavior. At this point,
the issue which Mr. Soni has raised, I think, and one thing I have in common with Mr. Agarwal is that half of my career I also worked in public sector and now working in the Aditya Birla Group. So the succession planning has evolved. Means it's not that it's something which has happened in last 3 years, last 5 years, last 10 years. It has evolved over a period of time, and generally in the 80s and early part of 90s, it was largely the public sector where the industry and most of the businesses was. And privatization subsequently happened. So let us see, in the early stages, and I go back to my days in SAIL, when we would say things like succession planning was even there at that time, when we would say that to become the department head, you need to have moved across at least 2 sections. To become a function head, you should have done at least 2 departments. And to become a plant head or head of a unit, you should have done at least 2 functions. And to become a managing director, you should have seen at least a couple of plants. So that was the direction in which it was thought in those days. Now, a decade later, I think it was largely sort of confined to the senior management team. And if I recall my Tata Timken days, so it was the management team of 5 people or 7 people who were the sort of driving force behind the entire succession planning exercise. A lot of times by gut feel, there were not so many support in terms of analysis, and like DACs and all those things were not very common at that point in time in our country. So gut feel and all those things, and those things also worked. Means I do remember that in my 9 years in Tata Timken and Timken Worldwide, for general manager and above, 90% of the positions they were able to fill up from within. So it worked, and there were programs to support that. Now, sitting here when we are talking about succession planning today, it would mean a lot of things. It's not either or. it's lot of things. So I think organizations, lot of organizations are engaged in forming a talent pool, developing a talent pool, taking them through development assessment centers, and make sure that they go through a structured program so that you have the leadership pipeline, the flow pipeline from where you can get the people. At the same time, it's not limited to that. At the same time, it's also that each organization, each company, each unit does identify its sort of key and critical positions and look at it differently, those falling vacants in next 3 to 5 years, those coming up as a part of the new project or growth and expansion. And then how do you fill it up, identify people. Lot of times what we have found that the process of identification, quite a few of them would be from the talent pool. There could be people who are outside of the talent pool as well. And then go through a process of again integrating what you are doing under the talent management exercise, the individual development plan, integrating it what you would do as a part of the succession planning exercise as well. So, because it could entail things like what I mentioned earlier, moving to another unit, moving to another role and things like those. So it's sort of all integrated. It all gets integrated and it's not one or the other. So it's quite interlinked. There was one more point which I was wanting to say, and it's linked to what Mr. Agarwal said also, is that with the time span, means people used to take a lot of pride in that I worked in this group or company for 30 years, I spent my life here and all those things. Today, if, and go through several interviews and all those things, and if your CV does not reflect 5-7 changes in your career, then it means that there is something wrong with you. So people would think that maybe why this person has stuck to one organization only. So succession planning in this scenario becomes even more challenging. Means a lot of times what we find that I am in aluminium industry. A lot of times I have found I am doing the succession planning for Vedanta because I develop the people. He comes with a money bag and takes away my people in whom I have invested so much. So I think an issue linked with succession planning and as important is the pipeline of induction. Means today, that's a